Welcome back, guys, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Last Game Hunter. And today we're going to take a look at something freaking cool. And today we're going to look at the T200 from Thermaltake. And this is what they call the Snow Edition. And automatically, once we got this out of the box, I fell in love. And I mean, how can you not, just by taking a look at the overall sexiness of this product. I mean, look at that cockpit look. The venting, everything about this just screams you got to build something badass inside. So today we're going to go over this case. We're going to do a full-on review and take a look at what we think of it, what flaws maybe it has. Was there anything, that struck me bad while I was building it, or was it just a beautiful, perfect dream build? And how hard is it going to be to hide that wire? Now, right off the hop, we're going to look at this beautiful cockpit. Like, wow, that is so cool. So many thoughts go through my mind on what I could do there. I just got to figure it out as we go along. And then these really beautiful vents that just make you want to do something neat. It's just a question of what can you really do, as they do seem to be sealed on the inside, but still just a great aesthetic look. Now, in the overall scheme here, we're looking at definitely a open air case build, which is something really unique, really nice, which means you can have the ultimate airflow going on here. As you can see in most cases, that it's all open everywhere. It's just absolutely a builder's dream, especially if you're going to water cool it. I mean, you don't have to worry about airflow or restrictions to your radiator whatsoever. Now, one thing we've noticed right off the hop, on the inside here, you can actually mount a 360 radiator vertically up and down here in the front where the cockpit is. On the top, we can mount a 280 or a 240 radiator up here. See, there's no air restriction. This thing is just going to let you flow. And that's just great, whether it's just going to be air cooled or fan cooled. It's just a dream build for airflow. Now, I built some open air cases before, and I gotta say right now, this one's striking me in a wonderful tickle me kind of fancy, for the simple reason that not only does it look extremely cool, and it is cool, but it's like the most unique open air chassis I've ever seen, especially if you're into the helicopter look. One nice thing here, and you'll see along here, we have some hinging here with a one screw, nice big thick screw, and I'll show you that right now. Oh, some of the peel wanted to come off already. I'm building this for my brother and he wants to peel it, damn it, so I can't do that in a video right now. Look at the size of that thumb screw. And no, this is not plastic. This is all aluminum. It's just nice, heavy, just well designed, which you would hope to expect from Thermaltake. Back at the door, look at this. Just gorgeous. Like, how many people don't want to take their glass off? They just want to swing it out, do some work, put it back. Now, in this video, I'm hoping that these just pop out, and that's what I want to see here. You see that? Two clips right here. Slide into your pivot joints. Just like kind of putting a door in your house. The glass is off. We can now put it aside. Now we're free here to open and take a look at whatever's going on here. But something tells me we can take this off. And it looks like we would need to get this video done and get the build done anyway. So let's just unscrew these. Again, beefy, beefy, beefy screws. And they're also keyed different. So you'll see that the screw for the glass has got a longer shaft, and then the other ones are shorter, so you won't mix those up. Now I see a couple screws here on both sides. I'm hoping they don't need to come out, but we'll find out in a moment. Now that we have the screws out, all four of them, the question now is, with these screws here, does it bother it? Do they cause an issue? So we're just going to tip and nice and easy. Oh, it all comes out just like that. So it has a nice lip right here. So when you put it back on, you pretty much just hinge it in and drop it down. So it's perfectly put every time. So now, guys, you have access to everything here. So we're actually going to do a little bit of a teardown here so I can get it built and show you guys what I think of it. And that honestly was just all aluminum. There was no plastic there whatsoever. So now we're at the back here and I'm noticing these two thumb screws, which are going to require the Be Quiet screwdriver. Because I believe when you take these out, the power supply shroud is going to come off. Now I'm not going through the manual yet. I'll show you in just a second. There was a manual here. And I like the flyby. Yeah, see? So now we can take that off, mount our power supply, put it back in, put those two posts back down, and away we go. The manual, of course, is right here. T200. I'm not going to bother opening it because it's a lot more fun trying to do things without ever looking at the toilet paper. Okay, before we go any further, I wanted to take a look at the contents of what you get in the box here. And I mean, it's going to be pretty simple, of course. It's just going to be your screws, some nice tie-ins. It looks like they got some rubber grommets here. And weirdly enough, a speaker. Now, that was something I used to see back in the day. I haven't seen it in modern case builds, but it is here. So, of course, here, being open air, this is very open. I like how they put the black in there to give it that contrast, which is really nice. Turning and taking a look at this part here. So now, as you can see, we have 3 2.5 solid state or 2.5 dry bays, which is actually pretty sexy. I love the way that's done. Nice and clean, very good. You simply just take these here out, and I think if you take the screw out on the side here, we can probably take that off. You don't want to drop everything though. Oh, maybe that doesn't come off so easy. We'll find out in a second here. That's just a hook, So, there we go. So just a simple tip out, and we have all our drive bays here in our hands. You can remove each of these separately and bolt your solid states in, or your 2.5-inch drives, depending on what you want to do, and just simply with the hooks here, put it on, swing it back, put your thumb screw back in, mounted. But for now, we're going to take it all apart. So we have 2 Velcro strips here to help tie down everything that's going through here, and this is where we're going to question whether this is going to be a nightmare build or not based on that. One of the things I wanted to look at was, how do I get into the front here if I want to work on a radiator in the front? That's going to be something interesting. So again, these are all things that we're going to do now. I'm going to put this thing together. If there's something that comes up in between, I'll show you what I didn't like or liked, and we'll be back in a bit to show you and give you the full thoughts on this build. Okay guys, something I wanted to point out here. I did take the cockpit off, which is just 3 screws here and 3 more on the other side, and then you just kind of pull up. And of course, this piece here can come out too by just doing some more tearing down, which you don't need to do. But one thing I wanted to point out, when you're putting fans in the front here, it will look extremely ugly if you try to run the wires on the inside of the case. So it looked like they put a chamber here, as you can see, and I think that chamber was purpose. So I'm running the wires all up and into this chamber, and when the shroud goes back on, it should be hidden. I will update if that becomes a problem. If not, keep that in mind. It's a great way to hide the wires. Okay, so a couple things I'd like to point out. One, this is removable, of course, like I had thought. And the bonus to that is, of course, you get all this room to get your arm in to do work, which, you know, when you're plugging in these nasty power phases and so on, it's really hard on a conventional case. One thing else I'd like to point out is the space. Now, I have run the machine. There is cool air going in there, but you can see there's only about 1/2 inch of clearance here. Power supply seems to be pretty solid, but that is its airflow. So it's a 1000-watt power supply. This machine is not going to get pushed, as it is a G processor. Now, there is a video card going in this. My brother has an RX 580, and I'll put one in to finish the job for the video, just to show you the room that you have for everything, because I do have some RX 580s here for doing tests and builds. Now, you'll notice a bunch of wires coming out here. I'm still trying to figure out how to mount the Easy DIY Hub X. And the reason why I say that is there's not a lot of room without having to see a pile of wires, and that is what I'm trying to avoid. As you can see back here, I'm trying to get, or I was hoping to have space down along here or something like that to get this hub mounted, but unfortunately it's not going to happen. It's got these two screw bumps here for motherboard mounts on the other side, which stopped me from putting it around this area, and I can't tuck it. Yes, I'm still cleaning up the wires. This is a very challenging, very fun build. So now I'm thinking maybe the hub has to go around here, and I will hide the wires on the other part. So anyway, just an update to give you an idea of how challenging open air cases are. Now, they're challenging in numerous ways. One, of course, they're open, so hiding stuff makes it extremely difficult. So that's the biggest challenge anybody is faced with an open air case. Just showing a couple things here where I had taken the cover off with the windows, and you can see my fan wires now are running up along here, just to try and keep everything as hidden as possible so you don't see them inside here. Okay guys, let's talk about this build. And right now, I mean, it is absolutely sexy. I mean, as far as looks go, if you're into the helicopter theme or Apache or H, whatever, 64 helicopter, I mean, come on. This is everything you ever wanted as far as that goes. It's got the looks, it's pretty cool, but there are things to talk about. There are good, and there are some bad. I will start off with, it is very well built. There's nothing in this that was really thrown together. It's a decent build. Quality of material is good. Even the plastics, like the front shroud here, are really, really nice and thick. This was all metal. All this was metal. This was plastic, but again, solid. It's not tinny. This is all, I mean, it's just a well-built unit. I can't argue that whatsoever. As you've probably seen in parts of the video here, it does come apart decently with the shroud coming off, this coming off, the doors, everything, the wonderful back piece here coming off. All that really, really helped because of the simple reason that it needed to. I mean, it's a case where you want to get your hands in there, you want to work. It's a very, very nice open chassis. Now, space is not really a big issue. Of course, it's an m-ATX case, right? So you're going to be using a m-ATX motherboard. This is a shorter board. It can go longer, so you don't have to worry about that. So you'll lose about that much more space as far as space goes inside here. But that is really nothing in the grand scheme of things, as it's a useless area anyway. One thing that I found, it was hard to add extra things like controllers. I did get it here. It doesn't look too bad as I ran the wire down here and strapped it. It looks okay. And this piece here for your radiator can only take a 240 or a 280. I was wrong. I said 360 in the very beginning of the video. That is incorrect. And two screws that are up in here, and that whole thing can come out, and you can mount everything and just swing it back in. As you can see, it's just got like a lever style hinge system, which is actually really, really cool, because I really wondered how I'd put a rad in here doing so. Same thing with the top, of course. The top is a 240 to 280 maximum. One really cool thing about the fans that were put in there, they actually are put on by the same screws you would use for your radiator. So up here you don't have the big holes to screw your to screw up those coarse screws into your fans. It is actually a machined long, beautiful screw, and it's already pre-done for the mounting. Of course, you're greeted with two USB 3s, a USB-C, and your audio, power, reset, and hard drive lights. Nothing major, nothing crazy. Cool feature is that it actually does have USB-C and the card. So this is a mid, I would call it a little bit bigger than a mid card. So a full-size card is not going to have a problem going in here. That is one bonus right there. So that is something to know. You don't have any trouble with whatever card you're going to put in. As far as putting on a cooler, you could put quite a deep cooler on here. I will have him change that later on to something a little more splashy, maybe a little cooler, something to give a little more flow than the stock cooler. That still blows down possibly onto the motherboard. I do like that part of the factory unit. Now, in the back, that's one thing you have to overlook. You're not going to put your shroud on. Now, I know some gaming boards will have the shroud built in, and that's going to look a little better, but that is the look you're going to get most cases without being able to add a shroud unless it has it built in. It is an open air case. You are getting the open air feel. This thing is really moving air, so I'm really excited about that. Power supply, again, I will just point out the little bit of space underneath, but it seems to be breathing. It is moving air out. It seems to be doing well. This piece here, beautiful, that 3 screws and it comes off, and that was just phenomenal. The one thing I wish this case did was have a upright riser for the video card. I thought that would make it pretty darn cool. Of course, the biggest plus of this case is how open it actually is, and the fact that it gives you a lot of space inside for a mid tier, so I'll call it a micro ITX case. So I was really impressed with that. Downside, getting rid of the wire. Extremely, 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 extremely hard. I made that try to look as uniformed as possible, but it is so hard to get rid of this wire. And I know it's the back. I know people don't care so much, but I did. And it does. So it's something I have to bring up. It bothers me. So we did something weirdly weird and cool here. We wanted a terabyte, but I wanted to fill all these bays to make it look really cool. So we took all Scorpio blacks, and we put a 250, a 320, and a 500. I know it sounds weird, but they're even labeled data 250 to 320 and whatever in his system in that order, and it makes it look like ammo cartridges. I thought that looked really, really, really neat and gave us that ammo cartridge look. Now, one thing I wanted to say, I was going to say there was no support for 3.5-inch drives, but it's actually false. You take these brackets off and you can mount 2 3.5s. I just think 3.5s would look terrible on this build. Again, it's the back. You may not be bothered by it, but there is still not a lot of room between here and here. Like, I can't even get my finger in. So I'm not sure how a 3.5 really goes in unless there's a 3.5 slim. Point out the hard drive screws that came with it. I had to use my own inventory. They're too long. They stick out a bit and add too much play to the hard drives. So that's something to keep in mind if you're looking for or don't have extra screws lying around for the hard drives. That is something that you will need. The biggest flaw of this case, in my opinion, is what I pointed out before, and that is hard to add knickknacks, as we were talking about with the X-Hub. It just makes it hard. I was going to try and put something right out here, and then I didn't like the idea of wires coming across there. So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. But anyway, guys, overall, I really, really, really enjoyed building in this. It did take a day and a half-ish, roughly almost 2 days to get it built. Thanks to my brother Steven, which is actually going to be the proud owner of this bad boy. He helped with the lifting and, you know, got the machine out of the case and did everything like that for me. So I was very happy about that. Oh, and the other thing, the packaging was phenomenal. This case was extremely well packaged. You shouldn't have to worry about getting damage whatsoever. As you see here in the photos, it was really well packaged. Guys, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the review of the Thermaltake AHT200 mid-tower case. And till next time, game over.